Ciao ragazzi, this is Katie Portanova, and you're listening to Florence and Me. I'm a lover of stories and all things Italian, and I'm going to bring you all that in this podcast. My intention is to inspire you to step out of your comfort zone and explore life and travel the world. Join me as I tell you my story and many others about Italy and my love, Florence. Andiamo! Hey y'all, I'm back. I just listened to my last episode about my life, my story, and yeah, I was very emotional. I hope you guys caught that. I had a lot to say about following your heart, taking the leap. So yeah, thanks for listening to that. I left off after I got the job at London School. And London School, I think I said this, it was very hard work for being a teacher. One, I've said this before, I don't think I was a very good teacher. I was a fun teacher, but I had a lot to learn on grammar and stuff like that. I wasn't a proper ESL teacher. I'll just put it out there. I took a course, which now I don't think they even have this course, but I took a course in the June of 2009 online. I think it was like 14 hours. It was like $200, and it said TEFL. TEFL is the certificate that a lot of the schools asked for in Florence. So that's what I did, and it was cheap. I didn't have to do, because some of the in-person ones, which I looked into, were over $2,000. I mean, maybe even euro as well. In Florence, where you would have to practice teach in front of people. I don't think I would have passed that, to be honest. I was just a mother tongue, a native tongue, so a lot of schools in Florence didn't really care if you had formal training or you just did it online, which I never told any of the schools I applied for. It was more just in my head. I kind of got into my head telling myself I wasn't a good teacher, because I worked with teachers from Australia to England to Ireland, they're proper teachers. They had a lesson plan. They did I did not do that. I kind of flew by the seat of my pants, and depending on the students in my class and depending on the student I had as a one-on-one, which I loved those because I really got to learn about the person. Those were probably my funnest students. Antonella comes to mind. Oh, she was aghast. Oh my God, she was so fun. She didn't have any children. She was dating this guy. We would talk about her boyfriend though. She was awesome. Oh my God. And Massimo Bacci, doubt he will ever listen to this. I went to his house after he got into a bad, I think it was a motorcycle accident or a car accident. And he broke his leg or something. So I would go to his house and like give him lessons. He owned some big company in Florence. Anyway, where I was at the London School, it was a quite ritzy area, which I didn't know that there was one outside of like the city center, because living in the city center, it's expensive to live, expensive to rent, to everything, not just for tourists, okay, for a lot of things. So yeah. The school was in Campo di Marte. That was the name of the neighborhood near to Le Cure, which had a really amazing open air market, which I used to go to once or twice on my bike. My bike! I have not mentioned my bike yet. I can't believe I haven't. My beautiful California style bike. It was yellow. It had different speeds. It had really thick tires, according to Stefano. I liked it. It wasn't a mountain bike. It was a regular, I had a really big seat. And I kept it all 4 years. And you know how I did? With 2 huge chains. bike chains. A lot of my friends just had one. And if it was a nice bike, it didn't matter even if it was a crappy bike, people would break the chains. So I had really good chains that people could not break through. Yeah, so my beautiful bike. Oh, she was so pretty. There was a basket that came with it. It broke off, and somebody tried to steal it. I don't know why. It was one of those kind of crappy snap-on baskets. So I had my bike mechanic guy. He was awesome. I forget his name. He put one on for me. And it was kind of like having a car. So if anybody out there, wherever you live in the world, uses a bike as transportation, you will understand the story. So I would always have to go to my bike mechanic when my brakes would start going because I rode it so much. Like he had to replace my brakes, I don't know how many times, because my bike was my transportation. If I didn't want to pay for a bus ticket, I was on my bike. And my bike was my friend. I had a few scary moments on my bike. One was, I don't think it was my birthday. I don't remember. But Laura had came over to my house. We had been drinking a little bit, and we both had our bikes, and we were going to drive to the center and have, some cocktails and enjoy the evening. And I always blamed it on Laura, but I think it was both of ours because we were both kind of drunk. We shouldn't have been riding our bikes. I say driving all the time. We're driving my bike. I fell flat on my face. And I had this huge bruise on my face and I was bleeding. Some cars stopped because they saw, but I was fine. Thankfully I didn't break anything and I wasn't going too fast, but still I kind of it was that little kind of slip up and then you turn fast and she came at me and it was like a whole little, it wasn't a collision, but yeah. So that was one. That was fun. And, not really. Another one was very traumatic, and I don't know if this still is in my body as a traumatic event. I still have this coat. I had this really bulky winter coat that was that went down to my knees. I had bought specifically for riding my bike because I was freezing all the time. I had layers on all the time. And when I would ride my bike in traffic, and if it was cold, I would put up my hood, because it would keep the air out and, keep my face warm and everything. But little did I know, I did know, I shouldn't have done that. So again, this is a note for people who if you're traveling and you're doing a bike tour or something like that, just don't do what I did. Okay. So if there's a basket on your bike, don't put your purse in it. Put your purse on you, because there are people in all different cities and around the world that have motorcycles, motorinos. They go up to bicyclists, and they try to steal the purse. Now, there have been people that have actually died from this because if their bike, what I was taught to do is wrap my purse around my bike handlebars. But if they pulled it, I could get pulled under a car and get run over. So thankfully I didn't do that. I had my bag. My backpack was on my back with all my stuff. I had another backpack with my school stuff in my basket. Thank God. So they did grab it. I freaked out. I was with Stefano at the time, and I called him, and I was in such an adrenaline rush. I really think I passed these guys on their motorino. As I got to Via dello Sottuto, because I was enraged. I was just enraged. I was like, oh my God, how am I so stupid? How am I stupid? This happened to me when I was not even a student in 2005 when I got my wallet stolen by gypsies. Why, what is wrong with me? I was just let my guard down just for a second, and that's when it happens. You just gotta pick yourself up by your bootstraps and keep on trucking, because that's what I had to do. I was so embarrassed when I went back to London school and told them I lost it was basically the attendance kind of folders they had. They were fine. They're like, thankfully you're okay. It was fine. But I just felt stupid, I mean, I've been living there for on and off for many years, and I'm like, how am I this has happened to me now. But that happens, you know, you learn, you live, you learn. So I was talking about my bike. So yeah, my bike was my favorite, my best friend. Took me everywhere. Everyone was jealous of my bike. Everyone couldn't believe that I still had my bike, especially Laura, because her bike was always stolen. Sorry, Laura. I'm sure she, I don't even know. I shouldn't say that. I hope your bike is still with you, Laura, one of your bikes after all these years. But yeah, I took care of my bike. It was like my friend. So I didn't let her out of my sight. Sunshine. And she was like the sole, the sun, because she was so yellow. Yeah. So let's see. So then I talked about on the last episode about my life, I talked about when I got accepted in as a resident, and then I had to go to the comune. I don't think I got to that part yet. So when you go to the comune, which is like the city hall, there's all different types of there's all different offices all over Florence, because Florence is so big. So you can go to basically any of them, but usually you try to go to the one nearest your house. So we went to the one in Piazza Libertà, and Marco came with me and kind of helped me kind of understand the process. Like another thing that he did, it was another helpful step. And I had to get a picture, like a passport picture, which again, another funny thing is like you don't go to like a wall. There's no place to do a physical building to get a passport picture. There are these booths around Florence, and you're never notice them if you're a tourist, but when you're a resident, you have to find them in order to get your picture taken for a passport and carta d'identità, which what I was doing. And there's all different sizes. So it's very interesting. It's convenient, because if it was an office, it would take forever to get your a picture. So I got that. I think that was it. I think I had all the paperwork that I needed. And it was so easy. Again, just like getting my residence, it like took like 5-10 minutes to talk to that woman in the anagrafe, and it was so easy. And because the residence card, the ID card, carta d'identità, is paper, you know, they just print out all the information on this piece of paper, you sign it, and that's it. And they put your picture on it, that's it. And it was so seamless, so easy. And I keep saying easy. And I was elated. I was so excited. I finally got it. And that was in 2010. That all happened. And yeah, and I was on my way. On my way to where? I don't know. On my way to still be teaching English. So I did a lot more different I taught a lot of students, like high school, middle school. Middle school was the worst. I taught elementary school kids, which was not my favorite either. I think I preferred the adult groups, like 20 and up, and then my one-on-one students more than the groups. I just couldn't handle 40 kids that had iPhones at the time. Again, 2010, I didn't have an iPhone. I still had an old Motorola phone. Anyway, yeah, so I worked throughout 2010. It was, I remember it being a very busy year. I remember, I think it was in 2010 is when, or it might have been 2011, that I actually made my first 1 month out of all the months I worked at London school. I made $1,000, €1,000. That's a lot. My rent was €280, which was a steal. Whoever's listening, and nobody has a rent like that in Florence. And my expenses, like internet, utilities that we all paid, was not that much. So I had a lot of leftover money, and I saved a lot. And how did I save a lot? And I think in it was 2011. In 2011, I actually saved enough money to buy a new MacBook. So I brought the cash home. I gave it to my dad, and he bought me a new one. And I exchanged the money at a local bank, and yeah, it was perfect. Worked out amazing. Yeah, so I learned a lot how to save because I knew I wasn't going to be going. I didn't buy back then. Also, there was no buying online. I bought everything. Like, I went to the stores, I went to the market, I went to see Eugenio, my fruttivendolo, my guy that sold me all my vegetables and fruits. Everything was cash. I rarely used my ATM or my debit card. I would always use cash. Italians, I think to this day, still use a lot of cash. It's rare to see them with using a credit card or a debit card. But I mean, I could be wrong. It's been, oh God, it'll be 7 years. I think this coming December, or maybe it was already 7 years since I moved back. So I'm sure it's changed. I'm sure it has. Everything, things change. So let's move on to, so I made a lot of money, made that €1,000 in that 1 month. And then come 2011, I think it was probably that fall of 2010 into 2011. I met a guy named Alessandro, and this Alessandro was one of my students. I was taken by him. I come to find out he was not taken by me, but he was a very, very nice man. He invited me. This was my first take into actually being with a group of Florentines, Fiorentini. So after class, one day, like he said, "Hey, we're meeting up here, or we're going to a sagra," which we'll talk about sagras. Oh my God. We're going to a sagra. Do you want to come? And he got my number, and I'm like, sure. And I started hanging out with him, and it is really blurry now. I don't remember how long I hung out with this group of people, but I got to know them quite well. There were a few couples in the group. It was kind of like that token, like How I Met Your Mother type group, friends group. Like they've been friends since high school. Some of them, they all still lived at home. That was another thing I would make fun of them about. I really pushed a lot of their buttons, and it was so much fun because Italian women don't talk like this. Like, they don't talk like me. They don't talk. They're not as independent. Not all of them. I'm not saying that. There's many independent Italian women that I know. But this particular group, the women were quite. They were in their place. I'll put it that way. And I know how that feels because society around the world puts women in their place. So there were a few conversations I had with these guys, and I hung out with a lot of the guys, not as much as the girls, because I get along better with guys, and a lot less drama. I wasn't interested in any of them. Some of them did try things with me, but I wasn't interested. I just made my point. I'm like, hey, we're friends. Let's be friends. Let's stay friends. I was still kind of interested in this guy, Alessandro, and then nothing ever happened with that. And then I ended up, it was kind of serendipity because like as I stopped hanging out with them, I that's when I met Stefano. It was really kind of cool. I also found out when I was with these guys, these Fiorentini, I knew a lot more about their city than they did. And now if you think about it, the same thing for like a foreigner or an immigrant coming here and staying and living in Chicago, they probably have researched a lot more stories and history than I know. So we would be walking through the center and I'm like, okay, what street do you guys want to take? We can take this one or this one. And they're like, how do you know this? I'm like, because my life is walking. My life is walking or biking. I have to know like which way to go if there's traffic or if pedestrians, I gotta find a different way to go. And I remember specifically we were walking through this piazza and one of them said, where the hell are we? And looked around and I looked around. I'm like, oh, this is Piazza d'Azeglio. And they're like, Katie, how do you know this? I'm like, because I used to live over here. Like I lived in every quarter, every neighborhood in Florence. So I know all the names of the streets. And when I go back, sometimes I do forget. I'm like, shoot, what name of this street? I have to look at the wall. I'm like, oh God, why don't I remember? So yeah, I'm so proud of myself because I was able to find my way around Florence so much better than I think these Italians could. They were sometimes they were really happy. Like, Katie, thanks God you're here because we don't know where we are. It was so fun. It was so fun. There was a few like times I was very proud of myself of speaking up. This one time we were in the small town of Santa Brigida with this group of people, and the guy I was interested in brought a girl. Okay. So I kind of felt like Joey from Dawson's Creek. I'm really dating myself. I just started watching the first episode of Dawson's Creek. That's why I say that. I was jealous. I was like, come on, what the heck? What does she have? Of course, she speaks better Italian. She was a pretty girl. I think they're still together. I'm happy for them. So I like, out of my being, of course, I was a little drunk. I probably drank a little bit too much, but I was really, really upset because I really I felt like this guy had led me on. And I told him to his face. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was very upset. I ended up going home with these other two guys, Alessio and Johnny, and they knew I was upset. They're like, oh, dai, Kate, dai, non ti preoccupare. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It slowly, that's when I slowly stopped hanging out with these guys because I'm just like, yeah, I mean, we learned a lot from each other. I actually helped one of the girls, and Elena, I don't know if you ever will listen to this, but I'm so happy you're happy now because she was dating one of the guys in the group. Okay, this is a little soap opera. I hope you like it. She was dating one of the guys in the group. His name was Mirko. Mirko will not listen to this. He didn't speak English. Mirko is really, really domineering towards Elena, and they were dating I don't know how long. And they're like, one day she was like, I think we were out really late and she really wanted to go home. And he's just like, or it was something like she wanted to do something. He didn't want to do it. And he was just saying, deal with it. This is what I want to do. And then I like looked at him and I'm like, how do you talk to her like that? Like, don't talk to her like that. She's a woman. She wants to do something. Let her do it. I forget what it was, but he was really angry with me. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, if you want to be angry with me, fine. But she has a voice. Let her be heard. And she gave me the biggest hug that night. I won't forget that. I will never forget that because she was like, thank you so much for standing up for me. I feel stupid. They ended up breaking up shortly after that. Thank God. But yeah, that. And then there was another girl, Sylvia. I remember her specifically. Sylvia would ask me once, like, how can you fly by yourself on an airplane? I'm like, excuse me? You've never done that? She's like, no, I have to be with my family or her boyfriend. I forget her boyfriend's name. I'm like, well, it's quite easy to fly by yourself. Oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't think I can. I'm like, I think you can. I implored her. I'm like, come on. Like, I've been flying alone since I was 20. Do it. And I don't know if she ever did, but I was just like flabbergasted. Like, what? How could you not have flown by yourself? And I know some of you that are listening probably have never flown by yourself. It's a very, it can be very scary for some people. But for me, like when I started flying by myself, this was right after 9/11 when I started flying by myself. I was so scared, but then I was also in that mindset of the early 20s of being like, I'm invincible. This is not going to happen to me. What? No, nothing's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I implore you, give it a try. It's liberating. It's amazing to do something like that by yourself. Even if you're in a whole plane, full of people, but still you're alone on a plane full of people you don't know. it's a great stepping stone for those that haven't done it. I suggest you try because it's great. I actually kind of missed going alone when Stefano and I started flying together. And now since Stefano never flew anywhere without me or anywhere for a long distance by himself. Now he can't. I told him, I'm like, if you want to go back to Italy by yourself, because after he already got the vaccine. If you want to go by yourself, you can go by yourself. He's like, oh, I don't want to go by myself. I'm like, okay. He's like, I have to go with you. I'm like, oh, okay, I love you. Oh, ti amo, ti amo. But anyway, sorry. I digress. So I thought I will end this episode with, I don't even know what I'm going to call this episode because it was kind of a smorgasbord of a lot of different things. But I'm going to end this with, I push you to try something on your own. Do something on your own. Try something, explore something, make something. Make a cake by yourself. I don't know. I think when you give yourself the chance to prove that you can do something without the help of family, friends, a partner, it's a really great feeling of empowerment that you have, that you will have cultivated within yourself. And I think that's why I'm still creating and starting a podcast by myself. I could have easily started one with a friend of mine, and I'm like, no, you know what? I kind of want to do this on my own, and I don't want to have to discuss things with people. I'm the token quick starter. Thank you, Caitlin. Boss Heart, if you ever listen to this, I'm a quick starter. I would not be able to wait for somebody. I am impatient. So yeah, I give you permission to try something on your own. It might be flying. It might be driving across country. Again, it's COVID time, so, choose wisely. Be safe. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. But I don't think there's anything you can't do on your own. Yeah, you can get advice from people. You can invest in certain coaches or trainings or something. Yeah, great. But if you have passion, and I said this in the last episode, I won't go on to a ramble of that as well. But if you have passion, you have determination, you can do anything. You can really just reach to the mountaintops, reach to the top of the trees, and just be like, I did it. I did it on my own, just like how I did it. Got my residence card. I lived there legally. It was awesome. It was the most amazing time of my life. I say that all the time. I probably will say that at the end of every episode. Hope you don't get bored of that. So I'll end with the next episode will be about when I met Stefano. If you want some juicy love story, it will be that. I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you again for listening, and ciao, ciao. I am beyond grateful for you listening to my podcast right now. I am so excited to share my journey of living abroad and all my stories of Florence and Italy and all the places in between that I've visited. If this has reached you in any way and you would like to continue, please subscribe now. Also, go check out my website, trulyitaly.tours, for all my travel experiences. Ci si vede. Ciao.